So, Britain is getting a new nuclear power station, but it won't be British-owned or designed. So should we be concerned about the state of our engineering sector? According to the Institution of Engineering and Technology, we should be. They say there's a skills crisis in the sector and are also concerned by the lack of female engineers. Currently, just 7% of engineers are female. So how can we encourage more girls to consider engineering as a career? Here are the views of some students in Sheffield.
I like problem solving, which is mostly what engineering is about.
I thought engineering was cars and, lifts. And then I came to STEM and I really liked it. Like we do code breaking and I really like that.
Everyone was saying it was for boys, but I just wanted to see what it was about.
You watch programmes on the TV, it only shows boys and there's never a girl doing anything.
I think the key is information. I think a lot of people push other occupations forward more than others.
People look up to people, and I think if there were more role models who were successful women in engineering, then people would look up to them and it'd be something for them to aspire to be.
Well, I'm joined now by Roma Agrawal, a structural engineer who worked on the Shard, and Peter Luff, MP, who is campaigning for more action to encourage young people into engineering and science. Roma, what attracted you to engineering?
It's such a fun profession. I mean, it's very enjoyable, it's very creative, it's collaborative. I love making things. I think it probably started with my love of putting Lego together as a young child, and making that leap from building Lego to building the Shard is something we need to work
It's a big
on.
leap, though, isn't it?
From building
Lego. My sons build Lego, well, just about. I'd love to think that they might become engineers. But did you realise that you would be going into a profession where there are hardly any women like you?
No, I didn't. So I actually studied physics at university and then switched to engineering afterwards once I became more aware of it. And it never really bothered me that there weren't very many women in it. I loved it and I carried on with it.
What do you think is the key problem? Why don't we have more women like Roma in engineering?
Well, first, it's important to realise we're desperately short of engineers, full stop.
Yes.
We need more boys as well, but we particularly need more girls. We have the worst performance for girls in the EU, the worst, 28 out of 28. The evidence is a lot of gender stereotyping takes place at school. It's shocking. Physics is the 4th most popular subject for boys, the 19th for girls. They seem to be dissuaded from it, and the coeducational schools in particular don't send enough girls to A-level physics.
What do you say to that? I mean, you did physics. For example, were there lots of girls in your class who did physics too or not?
So I was in a year of 120 girls. I went to a girls' school.
Right, okay.
And there was, I think, 14 of us doing physics at the time. I'm pleased to say I went back recently and that's now doubled nearly to 30. So things seem to be looking up. But there clearly aren't enough girls studying physics. And I wonder whether it's difficult to connect where physics can lead you, what are the careers you can take forward with it.
And isn't that the industry's fault?
Yes.
Don't they need to do a little bit more in terms of reputation, in terms of sending people out like Roma to say, look at me, I do a job in engineering and I'm just like you?
I think that's absolutely right. The industry's got a massive schemes. They're very complex package of schemes. Engineering UK is bringing them together into one place. I mean, these are schools, that's great. But I don't think the industry is doing enough to say to schools, this is a very exciting profession, just like Roma says. And I think girls need to be reached, particularly at primary school, and start to be told what a great career engineering is.
Because it is a good job, isn't it? I mean, in terms of job prospects, particularly when we've just come through the recession, if you're a graduate trying to get into the media, for example, you might have found it easier to get a job in engineering if you've chosen that career path.
Yeah, I think so. I think, people that can solve problems well, that can, analyse things and have, a very logical mind are in high demand from any sort of profession. And that's why a lot of our engineering graduates seem to be snapped up by different professions as well.
Do you think Labour missed this, that this was happening, that we know now that there is a shortage of engineers, we have a great heritage in engineering, and that actually not enough was done to push it as a subject generally, but particularly for women?
Well, I think we did something with specialist schools. There were a number of schools who chose engineering as a specialism. It then eroded. This is part of the problem, actually, in the education system, which we've been talking about at length, actually. We go in waves, we get something right. And actually, the three of us are in total agreement. It's nice, that, isn't it?
Yes, for once. Hold on to it.
And single sciences got eroded into taking one combined science. And I think that probably has damaged, hasn't it, and the going forward to engineering, because physics is a good route to actually getting into engineering. The university, I've got to stammer this afternoon. I don't know,
Don't worry.
University technology colleges that Ken Baker's worked on.
Yes.
I'm fully in favour of, and we just opened one in Sheffield where those youngsters are. So there's a number of routes now. I got this a long time ago because my then wife, when we were camping with our small children, used to open the back of the car and play at very, very high volume, Monica Wants to Be an Engineer. So we probably ought to find the disc somewhere.
Do you think that's the solution?
I think I was getting a message.
It's part of it, certainly, because as Roma says, engineering is fun, it's interesting, and we need to get industry into schools using the new design and technology curriculum, which is a great improvement when before, to say, hey, you can use these skills. And engineering companies want women. They want young women because the skills they bring to engineering are what engineering actually needs.
What skills are those?
More collegiateness, more teamwork, more creativity. Engineers were traditionally rather isolated people, worked in a stovepipe. Now they're much more teamworking, and female skills tend to be better at doing that. We actually need more women in engineering for the sake of the engineering companies.
What about mentors, though? I mean, that is the problem, isn't it? Finding the mentors.
Mentors are at all levels, primary school, secondary school, and the early stages of work. A lot of women go into engineering companies and don't carry on. They do find it a slightly male environment, so we need mentors throughout the process. More STEM ambassadors going into primary schools and saying, hey, you can do this, and more young women in work, helping other young women in work.
And we could do that from our universities. The Advanced Manufacturing Research Centre at University of Sheffield, working with Boeing, got a fantastic scheme, but I've met the apprenticeships. They're not wholly male, but they're substantially male, so we've got to break that barrier.
But that's then going back to the issue of schools, isn't it? You know, why are girls giving up sciences so early on? I mean, is it because they're so difficult, which is what everybody used to say, well, girls can handle difficulty, can't they?
Absolutely, and I think one of the things that WSP is doing where I work is to have a formal schools engagement programme where we go into schools, we have tie-ups with them, and we try to show them that studying physics and maths can lead to this. And then we've had about 40, 15 to 17-year-olds come into our offices this year, and we've shown them, hopefully open their eyes to the whole world of possibilities with a physics GCSE or A level.
It is getting better. There are grounds for hope. About as many girls took GCSE physics this year as boys. The trick is now to make sure they go on and take A-level physics.
I think we'd all agree that we've got to get over the idea that you're up to your elbows in oil if you're an engineer, because the world's completely transformed.
How much of it is design now?
There's lots of design. I mean, the stages of the projects vary. We spend a lot of time with architects, with sketches saying this is what we want a building to look like, how are we going to make it stand up, for example. That's my job as a structural engineer. It's very collaborative, it's very creative, we're solving problems. It's a very exciting profession to be in.
The image of engineering is out of date. David's absolutely right. It's changed with all recognition. If you want to build an environmentally friendly orphanage in Africa, bring water to the third world, make a new life-saving device, you need to be an engineer, have maths and physics. These are great, exciting opportunities which should appeal across the age and gender spectrum.
And
so the idea of you being a geek, is that gone in terms of being an engineer?
Well, that's it's a stereotype, isn't it? I mean, I'm an engineer, and we need to get more people to say.
You don't look like a geek.
Well, thank you very much. But that's the sort of thing we need to do, is just to get normal people out there as role models.
Have you got a benchmark that you need to reach?
Well, as I think I said earlier, physics is the 4th most popular subject for boys, the 19th for girls. I would like to see girls taking physics in the same number as boys. Equality of A-level physics. Then they can decide what to do with their careers, how to use A-level physics. That, I think, is what I want to achieve.
And how many women engineers do you think we need?
Oh, we're at 7% at present. In France, so we're only at 22%. We should be at 50% like GPs. There's no reason why it shouldn't be 50-50. There are engineering companies with 50-50 male and female engineers. It can be done. I've seen it.
Do you think the Education Secretary, Michael Gove, values engineering in the way it should be?
I think the government's commitment to engineering is very encouraging. I want to encourage you to do more. There's an Engineering Skills Week coming up in 2 weeks' time. There's a new review on engineering skills from John Perkins being published in 2 weeks' time. I'm encouraged by the signs, but I'm going to carry on kicking because we can't let this go. It's got to be achieved.
There's a lot to do, I think, but I'm very optimistic. We've had a third of our graduate intake last year was female, so I definitely think things are looking up.
Well, you're certainly enthusiastic.
Amen.
And on that point, that's the end of that. Thank you both very much.